Thank you, Janine. Next, we will have the eulogy from the family, and Daniel Fortier, who is Mo's son and Michelle's stepson, will give the eulogy. I can't say enough about how much this whole day has been Danny's vision and how he's led all of us to help us make it happen. It's been a great pleasure to get to know you, Danny, so please come forward.
Oh, there's a lot of people here. Can't really see it from the front. I want you to close your eyes for a moment. You can channel my inner Michi here. And I want you to think of a favorite memory that you have of Michele. Go ahead. Keep that memory in your mind. And I'm going to read you a quote that when I read it, embodied Michi to me. The only people for me are the mad ones. The ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time. The ones who never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like fabulous yellow Roman candles exploding like spiders across the sky. That, in essence, was the spirit of Michele Sereda. She played many different roles superbly in her life. Confident, mentor, friend, director, producer, and to her family she was sister, daughter, cha-cha, stepmom, and wife. It seems that no matter the title, each one could be replaced with cherished. No matter what role she undertook, whether on the stage or in real life, Michele did so fully and with every fiber of her being. It was this capacity to love entirely that made her so dearly beholden in the lives of so many. Michele began her life on a farm about 15 miles southwest of Foam Lake with her dad, Mike, mom, Sophie, brother, Fred, and sister, Karen, and of course, her Baba. She received her high school diploma from Foam Lake Composite High School in 1983, and even in the years of her childhood and adolescence, it was obvious she was destined for a life in performance art, both on the stage performing and behind the scenes creating and directing. At the age of 8, her and her sister decided it would be great if they could get naked and go roll in the mud in front of the barn to see who could get darker, who could get the most mud on them, and they were having a ball until the gas truck pulled up. So they had to hide behind a bush for a while until, as Karen said, at those times we could actually jump in the slough because there were no chemicals in it and wash themselves off. Kind of relates to a work she just did recently, holding up a nest covered in mud. You can see the roots of her performance in her family and where she comes from. She was a trailblazer even in those days. Michele made the decision to leave the rural community of her birth and attended the University of Regina to obtain a bachelor's degree in fine arts and theater. The university would later come to recognize her with a Distinguished Graduate Award in 2008, and she maintained ties to the university as a guest lecturer and mentor right up to her death. During her formative university years, she held down a number of jobs. Like Joey said, she was an entertainer. And according to her university roommate and lifelong friend Diane, she held the coveted role as the enthusiastic and somewhat bombastic hillbilly vac shack ape on Victoria Avenue. And as a clown on Scar Street Mall. And as she puts it, it was weird, as my coworkers would see me having lunch with a clown. And they'd ask me, who's the clown? But she never saw the clown. She never thought anything of it. She always said, what? That's no clown, that's my friend Michele. And Michele was fearless. Nothing ever represented an end to her, only another obstacle in which she could have overcome. She was entirely about breaking apart convention, and the creation of her experimental theater company, Curtain Raisers, represents this. The world, from her view, was a place one could always find a friend, and she, in turn, was always there in anyone's hour of need. Michele had the ability to make you believe anything would be all right with that contagious inner light that we've heard so much about today, and an easy smile. She took Curtain Raisers from its humble beginnings with co-founder Paula Costain, who, Paula, I didn't know you were here, but I'm so glad that you are, and evolved it into on her own into an internationally respected performance art organization that allowed her to develop, create, and present works that continues to challenge audiences. In 1989, Michele met someone whom she and many others knew, and she described as the love of her life, her future husband, my dad, Maurice Fortier. And they met while Michele was performing the lead role of Martina in Martina and the Apostles. And Mo was, in her words, according to Diane, the bass player with the sexy hair in the band. And they were an unconventional couple. They worked like magic. She was the boundless sky that captured his heart and imagination, and he was the earth that gave her a pretty firm grounding and support. Together, they worked on shows, explored life, and created adventures. Michele was also the glue that taught Mo the true value of family and keeping family together. She helped us create family rituals. They were married on the farm. And that's where I first learned of Sophie's pierogies. My God. She grew up, on the farm that she grew up, they got married, surrounded by good friends and family, and they made it through a number of events that can usually kill a marriage quite quickly, like a 3 to 5 year renovation of their home on Princess and Pasqua Streets. And they did it with their own flair and joie de vivre. Michele had a unique talent for keeping one foot in the past, giving her a strong sense of her culture and identity, an eye on the future, giving her a joy and energy about things to come, but always a strong sense of the moment she was in. As my brother Chris told me, to me, a glass of wine was just a glass of wine. Then, a couple Christmases ago, she gave me a wine tasting book. I just raised my eyebrow at that one. But it opened my eyes to the experience. Now, I stop to let the flavor fill my mouth. Think about the fruity zest or tang and let it inform my senses of the many ways it can be enjoyed. She taught me how to stop and enjoy that moment. Joey, you'll like this statement, I think. She had a way of making you see the world, not through a cliche of rose-colored glasses. She was not an optimist. She was a realist, with a sense of curiosity and wonder about the world. And it was infectious. Although she never had kids of her own, she cherished and embraced the role of Cha-Cha with her niece, Jane, and her nephew, Michael. Cha-Cha and Michele would challenge them with creative adventures and games, and sometimes they would come home with colorful words that you would not normally hear on the farm. In one instance, her nephew Michael recounts that when he was just a little boy, he was fascinated with experiments. And so her sister Karen naturally thought to send him to science camp for a week. His mom. But where would he possibly stay in Regina? Well, Cha-Cha, Michele, and Wiko Mo's house. According to Michael's words, every day I spent with him was like a dream come true. Countless adventures and video games, thanks to Wiko Mo. I can tell you that was not Michele. But what really stuck with me was the license plate game. Each day we drove to camp, we would all look at the license plates on the backs of cars and make dumb sayings about each one. And we would laugh. We would laugh till tears streaked down our faces, and we could barely talk. And Cha-Cha always wanted people happy, and when you were with her, even the dumbest things were funny. She also played the role of stepmom with my brother Chris and I. And she knew, like Jane said, she knew how to instantly set expectations with us so that we knew the boundaries and we were able to forge our relationship in that way. I still remember her coming to the house to live with us. And I said, "So, what do I call you, Mom?" She said, "I'm not your mom." All right then. Instead, we came to love her as a wonderfully rebellious and off-the-wall sister. Although in high school, the running joke was, "Dude, that's my mom." Yeah, some of you know that movie, don't you? In time, she would come to say to me when Chris and I had kids, "I'm too young to be a grandma." And so again, she set the expectation, and she became Cha-Cha Michele to our kids, the adventurous grand auntie that filled the lives of our kids, Joel, Ryan, Evan, Amara, and Tobin, with creative adventures, a sense of home in Regina, a place where it was okay to stay up until 11, fill them with sugary drinks and late-night s'more roasts in the backyard, take them out to hang out with the farm gang, ride horses, and have adventures on the farm. And we, as parents, we knew. You would just shake our heads and know that there would be about a week of decompression when those kids got home. My wife, I think, put it really well when she said, "What I most loved about Michele was how she kept her family close, even when she was out of the country for months at a time. Our kids received notes and gifts from all over the world, and we always knew that she was thinking about us. We cherished the traditions that Michele worked to maintain over the years, playing in Amara's park, summertime sleepovers with the kids, Sundays for breakfast, Hotel Sask brunches, feeding the geese at what she lovingly referred to as Goose Poop Park, our epic Easter egg hunts and the Christmas dolphin punch, her papier-mâché Christmas tree on a mannequin stand and lights, and lavish holiday meals, which we will never forget. I'm sure anyone who has met Michele or worked with her for any given time has probably made their own wonderful rituals with her and has shared that with you. And in some way, you've probably made the same promise as we have as her family to maintain these rituals and traditions, to keep them and to keep our families close, as she has always done. I know in losing Michele, her family has learned the importance of keeping siblings and family close. As Karen said to me, we lost someone from our pictures. And when I look at my pictures, if you look at her pictures, there's so many people in them. She has taught me that being secluded on the farm, that perhaps I need to reach out and make sure that those people are in my pictures. For those of you who have been to Michele's house for dinner, you know that her creativity and adventurous spirit extended to the kitchen. From making traditional Ukrainian food like pierogies with her mom, and her mom, Sophie, still makes the best pierogies, and Mishi will admit that. To her forays into more exotic foods from around the world, Michi loved to host dinners and make you try things you thought you absolutely hated. Until, as her sister Karen will attest, after the meal she served you, she would announce that you just devoured that and went back for seconds. Cooking for Michele was a way to connect with people. Diane told me that when she and Michele were living together in university, there were many times they would get ready to go out to a party or whatever, and they'd start flipping through cookbooks and end up in the kitchen creating some dish, devouring it, and forgetting all about the party. And many of her friends have recounted stories to me about cooking with Michele and how the experience will forever be a treasured, shared experience. Even her mom. Sophie recounts that my memory that is special to me is a weekend this past November I spent with Michele. We weren't mother and daughter, we were two teenagers. We sang, we danced, we baked, we cooked, and then we realized after that we had nothing to eat in the house. So we went out to eat. And during our time, we packaged a care parcel to Jane and signed it Baba, Chacha, and Bruno. And Bruno signed it with his paw. I was put in mud to leave a signature. Now, I know most of you know Bruno. We're probably worried about Bruno. You don't need to worry. He's found a loving home. And as you've probably seen on the cover of Prairie Dog, Chacha's swearing at him right now, saying, "You stole my press." Professionally, Michi achieved great success in her life, working on projects that took her from Payapot, Ochapois, Kakawistaha, and Regina, Saskatchewan, to Perm in Siberia, Russia. Along the way, she managed to touch the lives of individuals across Canada, from Vancouver to Montreal and Toronto, while at the same time finding a creative group of individuals overseas in the UK, Europe, and beyond, as we heard from Larrabee and some others. Throughout the celebration space, in the reception, you will find pieces that she has worked on, including a copy of the book Ballet, which documents her work, which was recently published. For those of you who worked with Michi, as we affectionately called her, you will know that she was very process-oriented. Sorry, Michi. The most important part of the process, however, was the people she chose to work with and mentor. It didn't matter if you had a theater background. She worked with bureaucrats, scholars, children, seniors, across cultures, languages, art forms. What was important was the experience and knowledge and spirit of the people that she worked with. They brought the energy into that room and the spirit and willingness to share their voice. Someone asked her once, "How do you work with bureaucrats and things that don't get what you do?" She said, "It's like tanning a hide. You go like this, and you go like this, and you keep going like this until the skin is soft and supple. And with love, you gently create something beautiful." The result was a presentation that often left you with more questions than answers, as Joey pointed out, leaving you with a WTF kind of look on your face. Until about a week later, you came back and went, "I get it!" And for a lot of us, that kind of theater and art started to make sense. She left you with more questions than answers, but that was really the point. To make you think, come up with your own answers and your own questions. And her pieces were like stones that skipped across a pond. With each skip, that water would ripple and energy would move outward, inspiring creative ideas and collaboration through thought and an evolution. An evolution that inspired the community she worked in. and the people she worked with and those who bared witness to it. No matter what circumstances life threw at Michele, Michele would land on her feet. The loss of her dad and her Baba were incredibly difficult for her. Then the loss of her love, Mo, who passed away in 2010 after a hard-fought battle with cancer. While she, Chris, and I cared for Dad and our families cared for us, I watched her draw strength from her mom, Sophie, whose compassion and strength are reflected in abundance in Michele. And during this time, Michele dropped everything to focus on Mo, caring for Mo. And instead of leaning on her friends for inspiration, she used her knowledge of research and process to learn about this new experience and help her through it. She watched over my dad with a loving vigilance that wouldn't allow him to wallow in dark thoughts. When she caught him wallowing or in a dark mood, she would do what she did with many of the communities. She would get in your face. She would walk up to him, put her forehead on his, and hum, and go, until Dad would go, Mishi, stop it. Mishi. And he would she would pull him out of it. And they would try and match pitches together. And she did that with communities. After Mo's passing, Michele threw herself into physical pursuits and became an avid tennis player and cross-country skier in the winter. She even took pleasure from shoveling the walk in her big furry hat and buffalo hide mittens. It took a toll on her. It took her a while to get back at it. But she slowly got back into her performance practice and used the experience to become more and more prolific, as Joey mentioned. She began collaborating overseas, including the UK and Russia, forging many new friendships and collaborative works. It was at this time that she confided in her sister a little secret. At this time, if you still have it, I would like you to pull out your Q-tip. Now, I think, here's mine. As she traveled the world, she created one of her own rituals. And I'm going to share this with you. For each and every place she visited, and I'm sorry, Suzanne, if you're watching this on live stream and you get a little by this, she rated the bathroom. She would raid your bathroom for a Q-tip. If she's been to your bathroom, she has one of your Q-tips. According to her sister Karen, it was because she wanted to clean her ears so she could fully understand the conversation she was about to have. So in her honor, I would like you to take your Q-tip and gently, not all the way in, please, I don't want liability issues happening here. Please clean your ears so you can hear her. I really need to do this more often. In between traveling overseas, she continued the work she had started with Ochapwis and Kakawistaha First Nation and expanded to Payapot, working with students there on an exciting creative interdisciplinary projects and a new work on Treaty 7, which she was working on at the time of her passing, with her beloved colleagues and friends, Michael Green, Lacey Ininu, and Narcisse Blood. She dearly loved working in these communities. The people there, and especially the kids she worked with, speaking of her respect and love for them and their brave work, whenever she could. Her philosophy of acting and creating art echoed how she lived her life. She stated, "It's about finding calm in the midst of chaos. Chaos that gets organized into something. In the process, you have to give something of you, and that takes courage, self-esteem, it takes leadership, and it takes risk. But it also you to understand how generous you can be with your spirit. If you look around today, you can see how generous she was with her spirit. You can see the many different cultures and communities she connected with and loved. You can see people. To her, that is what truly mattered, was people. There are no words to describe the effect her loss will have on her family and the artistic community in Saskatchewan, Canada, and beyond. I keep hearing that there will be a huge hole in the arts community because of her passing, and I agree completely. But it may not be for the reasons you think. The hole that Michele left, it's not an empty space. It's a strong foundation. A foundation forged by vision, passion, mentorship, and a call to action. It is a strong foundation that has taught so many of us to spontaneously break into dance with peaches on our head or a moose on our hand, to play in the key of a moment and dream of a future while dancing with our roots. Michele was taken from us too soon. She had enough spirit in her that she more than likely, given the chance, would have lived to 120. And she would be dancing, acting, singing, performing, teaching, and mentoring still. Joey challenged you here today. It's funny because I'm going to do the same. Without her here, I challenge each of you here today to take the spirit of Michi that she has given you. Let it give you strength and courage. The courage to take a risk, to get caught up in curiosity, find calm in this chaos, and create something amazing. Be generous of spirit. Let Michele's legacy be felt through each and every one of us here. And she will never be forgotten.